Number of people claiming asylum has gone down a little bit. Half of those arrive through illegal entry routes. Processing time for initial applications are coming down. Appeal waiting times are going up. So the number of people being detained, i.e. being put into detention centres or prisons or holding centres, that's gone up. Government has closed family reunion for refugees. Who gets the number one country for people bringing their spouses and kids over? Top three, as we know. We're handing out medals of people calling their spouse and children over. So here we go. Third place, we have bronze medal. Number 2, this is really surprising. But guess who number 1 is? These 3 countries make up 80% of spouse visas, partner route visas. 80%. Hi guys, so the latest immigration figures are out for the UK for the latest quarter, ending in December 2025, and this is what they're saying. So actually the number of people claiming asylum has gone down a little bit. 100,625 people claimed asylum for the year ending in December 2025. Half of those arrived through illegal entry routes, so 41% of those 100,000 arrived via small boats, 11% by other irregular routes, so maybe lorries, stuff like that. 40% of those people who claimed asylum already held a visa before applying for asylum, which goes hand in hand in what government are saying, that people like students, and notably they've singled out students from Pakistan, are saying that before their visa runs out, their student visa, they then apply it for asylum. And the government has made new rules in relation to that and fast track systems to prevent them doing so in that respect. So a lot of people who are claiming asylum actually have visas, and it's not all down to the small boats. So it's a combination of small boats and people on leave on visas who apply for asylum before their leave runs out. That's what is forming the bulk of people who claim asylum in the UK. The good news for the government is that they've managed to get the backlog down. Remember, there was this asylum backlog of people waiting for a decision of about 110, 120 odd thousand. That's down to 65,000 now. So they've really whittling through that and getting their decisions out very quickly. Remember, so this is something I've been going on about on TV channels for the past 10 odd years, that there's no reason why asylum claims can't be decided quicker, and that the backlog there needs to be dealt with. You might have remembered a few years ago when they found these warehouses and they were just stacked with asylum files and no one had touched them. So that the Home Office has obviously heard all the criticism around it and has decided to speed up asylum processing, especially the backlog. However, although processing time for initial applications are coming down, and waiting times are coming down, appeal waiting times are going up. So over 135,000 decisions were made in 2025 on asylum cases. This is an increase of 56%. They're really whittling through the asylum decisions now. So this is the highest ever processing since 2002. So you might think that, well, if they're whittling through them, are they granting more people asylum? Well, actually, the grant rate has fallen down. So the year before, there were 47% of applicants were getting asylum. Now it's down to 42. So that means less people are getting asylum percentage-wise than they were the year before, and more are being processed, more claims, and the backlog has gone down. Remember, in September 2022, 77% of people claiming asylum were getting it. So this has gone massively down. The nationalities have been impacted by this. Syrians. In 2024, 98% of Syrians were granted asylum. That in 2025 went down to 9%. So it went down rapidly. So coming from Syria and trying to claim asylum here is no longer a safe bet. This is because the government now deem that Syria is safe to go back to. And still, despite you see stuff about war and violence there, but the government has deemed it's okay to go back to since the downfall of the Assad regime. Afghanis too, for Afghanistan, the rate of acceptance for asylum went down from 51% to 34%. So only 34% of people from Afghanistan who claim asylum get it in the UK. The other good news for the government is that the number of asylum seekers in hotel accommodation has gone down. So that number is now 31,000. Remember, it's quite high earlier on. So it's 31,000, and the government have continued to pledge to bring these numbers even more down. Remember, by the end of their term in 2029, this government has said that there will be no more asylum hotels. Let's see. But they're definitely going that way as the trend is going down. So the number of people being detained, i.e. being put into detention centres or prisons or holding centres, that's gone up. So in 2025, 23,000 people were detained by immigration. Remember, the government is trying to do all sorts of stuff to try and detain people. They're detaining people from work, they're raiding them at work, they're raiding a lot more houses now. And also, there's this agreement between the UK and France. They're trying to send people back through that. They've got more returns agreements with more countries. So the government is definitely using detention as a means of trying to get migrants sent back. The top 3 nationalities of people who are detained. So here we go. Third place, we have bronze medal, Brazil. So you'd probably think back, like especially people who watch my show, and when we talk about as Asians, as immigration, we just think it's Asians. But actually, when it comes to people here without leave, there are many here from all over the world. So Asia is definitely a big one, but South America is another big one. I get a lot of clients from Brazil. And also, you get the odd ones from Canada and America who just think because you've got a passport, you can stay here. Africa is another big continent from where there are a lot of people who are here without a visa. So Brazil comes in number 3. Number 2, go on my son, India. India is a number 2, takes the silver medal in the detention stakes for nationality being detained. Number 1 is Albania. So Albanians are the largest nationality of people in detention, followed by Indians, then Brazilians. There you go, got a bit of everything there, like a United Nations. You've got Europe, Asia, and South America. What about people being sent back and returned? Right, so they're gone up as well, the return numbers. In relation to returns of people who are forced, literally put on a plane and sent back, they're gone up. So about 10,000 people were enforced returns. That's up 21% of people who immigration grabbed and sent back. And they were 5 countries, 5 top nationalities of people being forced and sent back. Let's see. Number 5 comes in Poland. So you're going to say, but Poland are in the EU. How can they be forced and sent back? So a lot of them would have been sent criminals. A lot of them perhaps didn't register for the EU settlement scheme. Some have broke laws. So even if you're an EU national and you break the law or you go to jail, you can be sent back. You can be deported. So Poland comes in at number 5. Number 4 is India. So there you go. An Asian country made it. Market leaders in immigrants overstaying. We can say for Asia, they hold the flag up for number 4, Indians. 3rd was Brazil. So Brazilians enforced and returned back at 3rd. You wouldn't think it, but yep, there you go. Romania, a 2nd. So Romanians often picked up and sent back. Same reasons, picked up perhaps doing crimes, or they've overstayed their EU settlement scheme. They've not complying by the rules of which they're given stay. And number 1, once again, Albania. So all these raids on car washes, on people's homes, on working businesses, they pick up a lot of Albanians. And because there's a return agreement, then Albanians can be sent back. On top of that, there were 28,000 people who voluntarily returned, i.e. who thought we've had enough of being illegal in the UK or without a visa and we're just going to go back. This is up 5%. So that's up 5%. And then to finish it off, 5,500 foreign national offenders. These are people who have broken a law, who have been jailed, committed a crime. They were sent back. That's up 11%. So returns, all in all, up by big figures. And the government will say, well, hold on, our deportation policy is working. We're sending more back than the Conservative government ever was. How is this possible? This is possible because the government have deployed 1,000 extra staff to immigration enforcement. So they've created 1,000 jobs in enforcement to send people back. And it seems to be working for government policy. So that was the figure for asylum, detention and returns. Now let's look at visas, people who come here legally. What's the situation for that? Are they going up or down? You might remember we refer to something called the Boris wave, and that is the number of people that Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak's government that were coming here on visas, up to about 700, 800,000 in 1 year, including all the care worker visas and the dependents and the people on work permits and the students and their dependents. So let's see now under Labour how many people they're letting in a year under what categories. So family related visas, that's spouse and children of British people who can come here, or European settlement people who have settled here in the UK, or anyone with indefinite leave, their spouse and partners, they actually fell down by 22%. It's about 66,000 of those were granted a visa. This is due to the salary hike that was brought in April 2024. Remember, you used to have to earn 18,600 to bring your spouse and kids over. Now, since that went up to 29,000, there's a lot less applications, and that has taken effect. A lot less people are earning that much, and they can't afford to bring their wife and kids over. So that seems to have been taken effect onto that. But then there's an argument. So shouldn't they, if you're married to a British citizen, shouldn't you be the one that should be allowed to come here and should be allowed to stay here instead of the strict criteria? So it looks like immigration, they're cutting it down across the board, but is that the right category to cut down on? If you're married to a British citizen and they won't let you into Britain, then, you know, is that fair really? Then they're going to look at people who come on the small boats and say, well, hold on, you're letting them in, you let students in. The counter argument for students will be, well, we pay 15, 16 grand a year to be let in, and then we don't rely on any benefits. So the rules are there for a reason. You have to fit them, and if you don't, you form part of the statistics. The government will say we brought the numbers down. So these family numbers are going to fall further, and I'll tell you why. Because the government has closed family reunion for refugees. Before, refugees could call their families over once they've been granted status. But the government has closed that route in September 2025. So those numbers we'll find out in the next quarter, but they must have a massive impact as well. That will be around 20,000 people less coming to the UK. So who gets the number one country for people bringing their spouses and kids over? Well, top three, as we know, we're handing out medals of people calling their spouse and children over. So, number 3 is India. So Indians call their spouse and children over on a permanent basis. Indians with indefinite leave to remain. They're in number 3. Number 2, this is really surprising. US, Americans count for the second largest group calling their family over, the spouses and children over. You would never think it, would you? India and the US to be lumped in the same field of immigration. But yes. But guess who number 1 is? Number 1. Guess. Pakistan. Take number 1. They might not be in the World Cup anymore, but they take number 1 in a gold medal for calling their spouse and children over from Pakistan, having the settlement. These 3 countries make up 80% of spouse visas, partner route visas. 80%. All the other countries together just make up 20%. And these 3 heavy hitters, there you go. India, US, Pakistan. Could you ever think of them in the same sentence? Well, you never see that line up in the Olympics, but you'll see it in the immigration Olympics. Bronze, silver, gold. Don't worry, USA, maybe next year. So what about work permits now? Let's have a look at work permits, sponsor licenses, people who call over to work here. for companies. So work permits were down 19%. Remember, during the Boris wave and Rishi Sunak wave, they were very, very high. Since then, it's down 50%. That's huge. Under Boris and Rishi, the main applicants were nearly between 300 and 400,000. That's gone to 168,000. Now, main applicants are people who are coming to work here. So this is mainly due to the dependents being stopped into the health and care worker visa routes. And remember that you can't recruit care workers now from abroad. So this fell down to about 13,000, down by 91%. Care worker visas, people we invite over here from abroad to work in our care sector, down 91%. That's the huge, huge impact that the government policy has had on immigration. In December 2023, there were 145,823 care and health visa applications and visas granted. This has come down to 13,286. Look at the chart and the decline. It literally goes, ooh, you see the way it goes up? That's during Boris and Rishi, our friends. Both of actually, who people can question can be of foreign origin, because although Rishi was born here, Boris was actually born in America, in the US. There you go. They had a foreign-born prime minister, and that is Boris Johnson. It's not the guy you think it is, Rishi. So under these two, look at the graph on the peak. It goes, then Labour come in, and it goes, you got a downward decline. And it's almost only 13,000 coming from abroad. So that is a big, big, sharp fall in relation to that. Okay, so the other work permits, what about not the healthcare? They're down 36%, so about 48,000. And that's because of the recent work permit changes where the categories were changed, the minimum requirement was changed, the dependents were changed, and these have had an impact. They're quite down. The biggest hit has been taken by the food prep, i.e. people, chefs, hospitality trades, hotels, restaurants, cafes, all of that. They've taken the biggest hit. They're down 83%. IT professionals have also continued to decline 18%. So the government blamed this on market saturation, but really, when you're not even going to allow chefs in from abroad, then this is what's going to happen. What about sponsor licenses handed out to companies? So at the end of 2025, there were 126,579 license sponsored for work and study. That includes the unis and the colleges. This has increased 4 times since 2019. But new licenses grants have come down 37%. So that's a sign that the government is not really happy to grant new licenses to businesses. The existing ones they're all right with, they said. However, the revocations has gone up. Government revoking licenses have gone up. What about student visas? Everyone's favourite. Students, people coming to study. They've decreased a little bit by 3% to 426,471. So main applicant grants actually rose 4%, but the dependents fell by 10%. That's due to the restrictions. So the top 5 countries for students, where do they come from? Or top 4, let's have a look. So USA is amongst them. A lot of people from the United States come to study. Nepal, up 60%. Viva Nepal! Viva Nepal! 19,553 Nepalese students were given visas. Biggest growth, up 60%. Who comes in second? Chinese nationals, nearly 90,000 Chinese nationals given student visas. But still, number 1 and heavyweight champion of the world, India. So 95,231 student visas given to Indians, making up for 23% of all student visas granted. People applying for British citizenship. This is 236,000 people were granted British citizenship. This is actually down 13%, but it's still quite high. It's a massive figure, nearly 240,000. And the top three nationalities of people applying for British citizenship are Nigeria. So there we go, an African country coming in hard. Second silver medal, Pakistan. There you go, Pakistan. Don't like being runners up, but they are this time. And number one, banging away. Guess who? India. We love India. There you go. Indians make up the largest number of group applying for nationality. These three countries make up 25% of people applying for British nationality. Just these three, forget the others. So, what do we get from this? We get that the government's policy of reducing immigration of people who want to stay here is working to that effect. There are less people coming to stay here, less people coming on a partner basis, on a spouse basis, less dependents coming here, absolutely hardly any care workers coming here. And the work permits have gone down. That Boris wave of people are being reversed. And also, with the new government's proposals, the Boris wave will not be allowed to settle early. The settlement times for them have been doubled and sometimes even tripled, especially when it comes to care workers. What we're seeing here is a shift to a sort of Dubai-style system where the government is saying, look, you can come here, you can contribute here, but you will never become a permanent, or it will take you so long to become permanent that, you'll spend 15, 20 years of your life here. Similar to what they do in Dubai. They say, look, you can stay here year by year, keep on renewing your visa, we'll never make you a citizen. So we're seeing a shift towards that. This means that less people will stay here, other countries will be more attractive. Why should I wait 15 years to get settlement in the UK when I can go Canada and get it in 5, or New Zealand and get it in maybe about 6 or 7? Same for Australia. So you'll see a shift in people coming to the UK. There'll be a lot less people. The businesses will argue this is hurting them, and industries such as the care sector will say, well, hold on, you're going to decimate our industry. We can't get enough people working in our industry as it is. The British people don't want to do the jobs, and now you've stopped foreigners from taking them or discouraged them from taking them. How are they supposed to survive? The hospitality and transport industries have already taken a big hit, and they're also lobbying the government. The restaurateurs are lobbying the government and saying, well, hold on, how are we going to entice British people to make curries or cook foreign cuisine when, this is such a specialised issue and subject? The fact that you can't bring your dependent over has had a big effect. I think it puts a lot of people off from coming here. Also, with the government set to announce that the refugee status will no longer get indefinite leave to remain, they'll be given 2.5-year visas, just like under a partner route or anything like that, and assessed at the end of that if their country is safe to go back to. They'll stop extending the visa and tell the refugees to go back. So settlement will be harder for people, and they're doing away with a lot of other stuff like the 10-year long residence route is also going as well. You can technically study here for 10 years and not get your PR, permanent residency. So the government really is a priority for them by the next general election to bring all their numbers down. And I think we'll start seeing a big, big difference here. Also, the number of removals has gone up. The number of people leaving the UK when they've had enough is going up. Citizenship grants are going down. So we're seeing less people becoming citizens of this country, although it's still in high numbers. So the government is working, and it looks like its plans are, bringing fruit. If decreasing immigration was the aim and what the public wanted, then that's what's happening. However, is that decrease beneficial to the UK? The industry people, working people will say no. The universities will probably say no, even though the number of students has remained the same, pretty much. The unis are very powerful in lobbying the government. British citizens who are married will say no. Well, hold on. These changes of 29,000 to bring in that, it's harsh. The government will say our job, and the British public wanted us to decrease immigration. That's what we're doing any way they can, any category they can. And the figures, I think at the end of next year, when we discuss this next year, will definitely continue the trend of bringing immigration down. and having less people settle here, if that's truly what the public wanted.
GLS Solicitors is led by award-winning solicitor Harjap Singh Bhangal. GLS Solicitors, when the experts need an expert.